Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name is Brian, and today we are talking about a few recent Kino releases, both of them kind of heist films. I think that is the big connection for me. One is a little bit more adventure, one is a little more straight heist, but they're both fun releases, and I'm going to start with the crazier of the two, and that's Treasure of the Four Crowns. This is from 1983. It's directed by Fernando Baldi, who is a director that worked with this actor, Tony Anthony, quite a bit, who's the star of this film. And I believe it might be his last film. I'm not exactly sure about that. But they did a series of films together. Tony Anthony, known for his character, The Stranger, which has a fun DVD set from Warner Archive from years back now. But, Baldi also did other films with him. I'm thinking Coming At Ya is the previous 3D film. This is a 3D adventure film. You could say it's kind of a Raiders of the Lost Ark ripoff. In listening to the commentary on this, which is good, the commentator, Jason Pachonsky, mentions that the screenwriters were more inspired by the works of the guy who wrote the Alan Quatermain books, H. Rider Haggard. And of course, those books, King Solomon's Mines, Alan Quatermain, and The Lost City of Gold, those are made into 80s adventure films with Richard Chamberlain. But ultimately, it's like this has the DNA of Raiders in that those books inspired these serials that Lucas was inspired by for Raiders, so it's all kind of interconnected. But if you watch this, you'll go, this is a Raiders ripoff, especially the opening bit. It definitely has that feeling. And it opens with like a 3D crawl a la Star Wars that is very much saying like, hey, we know what's popular and we're doing that. And the other thing is, right as soon as it comes out of that crawl, you see the Cannon's Films logo. And so you're like, okay, I'm in good hands. I think Golem and Globus came in as distributors in this case, and they weren't necessarily creatively involved, but it's still a Cannon film, and you can definitely feel that. Tony Anthony, really interesting guy. There he is right there on the right there. And one of the things I love about this movie that's interesting to me is that I love the opening 20 minutes. The opening 20 minutes of this film are this amazingly fun castle set piece where Tony Anthony comes to this castle and he is looking for a specific artifact, and he, enters the castle. And again, this is a 3D film. It's the follow-up to the spaghetti Western 3D film Coming At Ya. Fernando Baldi directed that with Tony Anthony. So it's another 3D film. Coming At Ya, I think, was a decent success. But I think this is the more fun of the two 3D films. So we see the opening, and he steps into frame just like Raiders, just like Indiana Jones, but instead he's wearing like a red puffy ski jacket, which is an interesting look. And he starts going into this castle, and he's, climbing down vines, and is attacked by birds and attacked by wolves. And there's a lot of, the 3D is a little lazy in the way that it's a lot of things being thrust at the camera, or if people are handing things to each other, they're handing them to the camera, but it's still fun. And this opening set piece is just kind of wild. It's 20 minutes long, and it's just him by himself, kind of like Indy in that an opening temple. And so he's just wandering through this castle, and he finally gets this artifact, but there's a lot of crazy stuff, including this chute that reminded me of the chute that Luke goes down in Empire, and I could be off with that. But anyway, it's a fun opening, and I had seen the opening, but this movie, for me, it got an official DVD release through a Shout Factory compilation, but I can't remember if it might have been widescreen, but it wasn't 16:9, so it was a square. So this is the first time I've ever seen it fully widescreen, and this is a new restoration by the folks at 3D Film Archive, and they've been doing some great work with Kino and putting out some other really fun 3D films that I've talked about on the channel before. And so I'm so happy that they did this restoration. The film looks as good as I've ever seen it. And I think they even cleaned up the 3D in terms of some of the actual stuff might have been a little sloppier and may in the theater have not quite have worked in stereoscopic. You know, it's called Wonder Vision is what it's filmed in. And so the 3D looks good in Blu-ray 3D. This also comes with an anaglyph pair of glasses. So you have the anaglyph version and you can watch a 2D flat version as well. But it's a silly, weird, bonkers, adventure film. So you open with this 20 minutes. He gets this artifact, takes it back to some guys that want the artifact, and it sort of leads to a scroll which tells him about 4 crowns that are being guarded at this other temple by this cult, this guy, this sort of Satan worship-y kind of guy who is kind of weird, but there's this village on this gigantic mountain top, and the temple is part of that. And inside the temple is the 4 crowns, or the 2. I think I only see 2 crowns at the end. But anyway, so they basically tell Tony Anthony's character, JT Stryker, to get a team together and plan this heist of the 4 crowns. They want to steal it from this guru, basically. And it's a classic thing where the room that it's in has got laser beams and a pressure-sensitive floor. And so he gets 2 acrobat trapeze artists and another dude to help them, and they go and it's a putting the team together sequence prior to this final. I want to say it's about 30 minutes of this heist scene. So there's a little, I wouldn't say boring stuff, but less interesting stuff in the middle where they're putting things together and more talky. But the opening 20 minutes and the last 30 minutes are really fun, and the end gets completely crazy. Just some stuff happens that I'm not going to try and describe, and it's that sort of Italian film energy where you're just like, wow, I did not expect that kind of level of violence and weirdness, and it's crazy. I mean, it's obviously trying, again, to, in my mind, do something like the melting face in the end of Raiders, but it's doing a whole bunch of things that are just nuts. So I find this film really entertaining. What I was trying to get at before is I've seen that opening 20 minutes because I've had bootlegs before, anaglyph bootlegs, and I don't know if I'd ever finished the movie, honestly. I thought I had, but I'm also getting old, so who knows. But in watching it this time on this Blu-ray, I really had a good time with it. And so I do recommend this if you still have a 3D TV and a 3D Blu-ray player and glasses. It's a real good time in terms of the 3D. I mean, like I said, it's a little gimmicky because it's a lot of, just kind of that stuff. But I don't know. As a Raiders ripoff, it's actually one of my favorites. And it's just got some goofy, crazy traps and all kinds of fun stuff in it. So Tony Anthony, an enjoyable presence in this film. There's some scenes in the final heist scene where they're dangling from the ceiling that totally made me think of Mission Impossible. And I was like, did De Palma see this film? And then someone reminded me that there's actually a dangling scene in the 60s heist film Top Copy. And so more likely De Palma probably saw Top Copy and not Treasure of the 4 Crowns, but who knows? Maybe he came up with this on his own, but I couldn't help but be reminded of Ethan Hunt hanging from the ceiling and Mission Impossible in that. So this has a fun commentary, as I said, from Jason Pachonsky. I definitely enjoyed that. Very informative. He goes deep on Tony Anthony's career, going like all the way back to the beginning. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh, cool. We're going to go really deep into this. This is neat. I like this. I don't know. I mean, I know his Stranger films, but I don't know that much about him. So I was into that. It also has an audio interview with Tony Anthony conducted by filmmaker Douglas Hosdale. Also very interesting and very cool to have. And like I said, these 3D archive restorations are really good looking, and they always do a nice job with the stereoscopic, stuff. And I was just really happy with this one. I was like kind of giddy about it when I saw it was announced, and I was like, I wonder if that's going to be as fun as I remember, and it exceeded my expectations. So Treasure of the 4 Crowns, very fun, very worth your time. And the next one is more of a straight heist film called Grand Slam. This is from 1967. But it also has like, a scene with laser beams that they have to get over and, classic heist movie stuff. But it's got an interesting setup in that it's Edward G. Robinson is at the beginning of the film. He's a teacher in Rio de Janeiro. And we see him at the beginning. He leaves Rio. He goes to New York. He meets a friend of his apparently from like 40 years ago. This guy is now some kind of criminal enterprise mastermind. And he's like, they haven't seen each other in 40 years. And he's like, look, I've got this. Let me show you this film. And he shows the film of his school. And you're like, oh my God, what's he doing? Showing him home movies. And then he's like, and across the street, there's this diamond company building. And 2 times a year, they get this gigantic, not gigantic, it's actually a small briefcase worth of diamonds that's worth $10 million. And he's like, and I have all the stuff I need to steal it. I just need your help to get a team together. And the guy's like, oh, really? And he pulls this wall back, and he's got this like gigantic row of like, it looks like a card catalog almost, where there's these horizontal files that he pulls out with like, it's like Rolodexes in each one. And it's like, you look at the outside, it's like safecrackers, Playboys, military, and he just has all these different, like the Vatican, like what? All these different, contacts and connections and people that he uses. And so Edward G's like, I need a safecracker. And he goes in there, he pulls out his favorite one. And he's like, I need a Playboy. And so he gives him 4 guys. And then it's, again, putting the team together, a classic part of the heist film. We get to see him go and meet the safecracker, go and meet this electronic expert guy. The military guy is played by Klaus Kinski in a nice unhinged Klaus Kinski performance. And Klaus ends up sort of running the show in a way. That's sort of his deal. And the Playboy is there because there's a woman who works at the Diamond Company, played by Janet Leigh, who I guess we're supposed to think is like homely looking. She looks as good as ever. I mean, she's a little older, but she looks stunning. And she is this, I guess the movie would have you think, an ice queen who will not respond to this Playboy who is apparently so irresistible to women. He's kind of terrible. I don't really buy that whole part of the story. It's kind of stupid, but the movie deals with that in an interesting way that I'm not going to talk about towards the end. But so he's supposed to charm her and get the key to this room, which has this giant vault in it. And the vault is this special kind of vault. And Klaus Kinski gets a version of the same safe that the safecracker can drill into. And then they find out that they've installed the Grand Slam 1000 or something. And it's this crazy like device they put near the safe that will pick up any sound that's above 4 decibels and set off the alarm. So they have to figure out a way to get around that. And the way they do is interesting, definitely. And so it's setting up the heist, and Edward G. Robinson just disappears for a good, I would say, 2/3 of the movie after that beginning. And it's just these 4 guys planning the heist and figuring things out. And then the actual heist is about 35 minutes at least. It's a good long sequence. The idea is that Edward G is like, you have to do it during the carnival because all the buildings are closed and nobody will know for a couple days. And so this carnival's going on, and they're, zip lining across the buildings and getting inside. And it's got all that classic suspense that you get with the, are the guards going to catch them? Are they going to make a sound and set off the alarm kind of, stuff. And so on that level, it's really a pretty solid heist movie. I enjoy the cast. It's a good little solid film from this period. And it has an interesting ending I'm not going to talk about, but it definitely was one. I had seen this on DVD. I think I remember Image Entertainment put out the DVD maybe. But this Blu-ray looks very nice. And there's a commentary track from Howard Berger, Steve Mitchell, and Nathaniel Thompson. That's okay. And I just was happy to see this get a nice release, because heist movies are inherently a lot of fun. And if you're into them and into the tropes of them, just like you would be the tropes of a slasher movie or whatever, the getting the team together phase. I always like that stuff. I like meeting the characters. You often see them doing at least an abbreviated version of the thing that they do as we're introduced to them, or we get to hear them sort of talk about their resume. And I just like that stuff. So, the whole tropes of this kind of film, I really dig. And again, it goes well with Treasure because that has the same kind of getting into a room heist at the end. And I think that'd be an interesting double bill, to be honest. So I just wanted to talk about these two new Blu-rays, recent Blu-rays from Kino. Definitely both recommended by me and worth your time. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.